Picture this. It's not a fight. No slammed doors, no shouting. It's worse than that, because it's quiet. A couple sits at their kitchen table with a laptop open. They're doing the thing couples do when life is going well. Budgeting, planning a vacation, talking about upgrading the car, maybe even browsing houses. And then she says it casually, like it's no big deal. By the way, my bonus hits Friday. He smiles. He's proud. He truly is. He reaches for her hand like, we did it. But something is off. Not in what she said, she earned it. Not even in how he reacted, he's trying. It's what happens right after, a tiny shift in the room. She starts talking differently, more certain, more decisive, more executive. He starts listening differently, less like a partner and more like someone waiting to be approved. Nobody is trying to hurt anyone. Nobody is plotting betrayal. And yet, in that tiny moment, a new hierarchy tries to install itself, quietly, politely, and without consent. This is the part nobody warns couples about. Not can women succeed? Of course they can. Not should women earn money? Obviously. The real question is, what happens to a marriage when the income flips and the relationship isn't prepared for what income actually does? Because money doesn't just buy things. Money buys options. Money buys leverage. Money changes who feels needed and who feels tolerated. And if you've ever watched a couple go from best friends to two professionals sharing a lease, you've already seen this movie. Today we're talking about a pattern that's more common than people admit. How a woman earning more can strain a marriage, and in some cases, break it. Not always, not inevitably, but often enough that pretending it never happens is dishonest and unhelpful. And we're also going to talk about how couples avoid it, because plenty do. Nothing mentioned in this chat constitutes financial advice, and this isn't a moral judgment on women, men, or ambition. This is about dynamics, what shifts, why it shifts, and what to do before it becomes irreversible. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth most people dance around. Money changes power inside a relationship. Even if you swear it doesn't, even if you're progressive, even if you're the most emotionally evolved couple on your block. Because power isn't just who is in charge. Power is who can walk away without fear, who has more leverage in disagreements, whose preferences become the default, who feels like the relationship is a choice, and who feels like it's a lifeline. When one partner consistently earns much more, the relationship can start to orbit their life, their city, their schedule, their standards, their stress, their social circle. Sometimes that's fine, sometimes it's even logical, but when the flip happens, when she suddenly earns much more than he does, there's a second shift people don't expect. The couple doesn't just gain money, they lose the old story of who they are. In many marriages, especially early on, the story sounds like, we're building together, we're a team, we each bring something essential. But after the flip, the story can quietly mutate into, I'm building, you're along for it. I'm the engine, you're the passenger. I could do this without you. And once those thoughts start running in the background, they leak into everything. Tone, patience, intimacy, respect, conflict. This isn't about gold digging, it's about psychology and incentives. Options change behavior. Even good people change when their options change. Most relationships run on contracts nobody ever speaks out loud. Not legal contracts, emotional ones. For example, if I sacrifice now, we'll both benefit later. If I support you, you'll value me. If I'm loyal, you'll be loyal. If we suffer through the hard years, we'll be closer in the good years. And to be fair, many couples do work like that. But here's the risk. When someone's life upgrades dramatically, they sometimes rewrite the past. They don't say, you didn't matter. They say things like, I just grew. I found myself. We wanted different things. I'm not the same person anymore. And maybe that's true. But it's also true that when the power changes, people often reinterpret what they deserve. And if a partner starts feeling, consciously or unconsciously, like they've outgrown you, that's not an argument you can win with logic. Because what's happening isn't logic, it's status perception, identity, and emotional momentum. A lot of men don't anticipate this because they assume love is like a ledger. I invested, you benefited, therefore you'll appreciate me. But love isn't a ledger, and appreciation isn't guaranteed by sacrifice. That's the brutal part. Let's separate two things people blend together. Respect is, you're a good person, you matter, you've done a lot. Attraction is, I want you, I feel pulled toward you, I admire you in a way that has energy. A marriage needs both. What can happen after the income flip is not that she stops respecting him as a human being, it's that the type of respect that fuels attraction starts fading. Because attraction often feeds on admiration, competence, strength, social proof, the sense that your partner is going somewhere. And when her income and career trajectory shoot up while his stays flat, her brain can start filing him under safe, nice, supportive, good guy, without filing him under impressive anymore. This is not a universal law. Some women are deeply attracted to men who earn less. Some couples thrive with reversed roles. Plenty do. But if a couple has even a hint of traditional expectation wired into them, whether they admit it or not, the flip can create a quiet tension. She feels like she's carrying, he feels like he's failing. Neither wants to say it out loud because it sounds regressive. So they don't talk about it, they just feel it. And what isn't discussed doesn't disappear, it leaks. This is where many men get emotionally wrecked. There's a common storyline. He works extra, he covers rent, he handles the boring logistics, he keeps life stable while she's in a demanding program, training, building a business, taking unpaid internships, grinding up the ladder. He's not holding her back, he's pushing her forward. And during that season, she often does feel grateful because she needs him. But then she arrives. The salary comes in, the title upgrades, the circle changes, the independence hits, and the support he gave, this is the painful part, can start to feel like something from another life. He thinks, we built this. She may start to think, I built this, and you were there, even if she never says it. And if their relationship foundation was, you need me, instead of, you desire me, then the moment she stops needing him, the foundation cracks. This is why men who do everything right can still lose. Because being supportive is valuable, but support alone doesn't always protect a man from being downgraded in status inside his own marriage. Again, not always, but it happens enough that ignoring it is irresponsible. Income doesn't just change a bank account, it changes your environment. When her career levels up, she may enter spaces filled with high performers, high earners, ambitious peers, confident men with similar status, people who speak her new language. And even if she's loyal, even if she's not flirting, even if she's not looking, comparison starts happening automatically. That's not evil, that's human. If her new world normalizes a certain kind of man, assertive, successful, well-connected, then coming home to a husband who feels stagnant can trigger a silent dissonance. Why doesn't my life match my level? That question is dangerous because it doesn't announce itself like a villain. It comes disguised as growth, as alignment, as standards. And the more she's exposed to alternatives, the more her brain starts pricing the relationship against new possibilities. This is why we love each other isn't always enough. Because desire is not just inside the couple. Desire is shaped by the marketplace of attention around them. Here's a dynamic people misunderstand. When someone becomes financially independent, it doesn't automatically reduce love. It often reduces tolerance. When leaving is expensive, emotionally, financially, logistically, people try harder to repair things. They overlook more, they compromise more, not because they're using anyone, because reality creates friction, and friction slows impulsive decisions. But when leaving becomes easy, the threshold for "I'm done" drops. So what changes after she out-earns him is this. Things that used to be annoying but manageable become unacceptable. His messy habits, his lack of ambition, his jokes, his friends, his job, his energy. Not necessarily because he got worse, but because she no longer feels she has to endure anything. And that can be a good thing if the relationship was unhealthy. But if the relationship was normal, two imperfect people, then sudden zero friction independence can make normal imperfections look like deal breakers. That's why some men feel blindsided. They don't realize the relationship used to be stabilized by more than feelings. It was stabilized by shared dependency and shared struggle. When that disappears, the relationship has to survive on connection alone. And many couples never built that kind of connection. They built logistics. Most marriages don't collapse like a car crash. They collapse like a house with termites. It looks fine, until it isn't. Here's how it often goes. First, the tone changes. She corrects him more, interrupts more, explains things like he's a junior employee. Little comments. I already handled it. It's fine, I'll do it. Never mind. Then affection changes. Less random touching, less warmth in greeting, less eye contact, more phone scrolling. Then curiosity dies. She stops asking about his day, really asking. He talks, she nods, but her mind is elsewhere. Then comes the reframe. Suddenly his traits get relabeled. Relaxed becomes lazy. Steady becomes stuck. Simple becomes small-minded. Content becomes unambitious. Finally, criticism becomes character. It's no longer, I don't like when you do that. It's, you're the kind of person who... And when criticism becomes identity, intimacy usually dies soon after. By the time there's a serious conversation, she's often already detached. He thinks it's the beginning of a fix. She thinks it's the beginning of the exit. That timing mismatch is why men feel like divorce comes out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of silence. Let's talk about the man for a second. When his wife starts earning more, the outside world often says, be secure, support her, don't be intimidated. It's 2026, get over it. And some men truly can. Some men are rock solid. But for many, the issue isn't jealousy, it's identity. A lot of men tie self-worth to usefulness, competence, being needed, being the provider, or at least a significant contributor. So when the flip happens, he can feel like he lost his lane. He may not say it, he may even smile through it, but inside he's thinking, what do I bring now? If she doesn't need me, why would she choose me? If I'm not admired, am I still wanted? And here's where men often make a mistake. They respond by shrinking. They become overly agreeable. They stop leading. They stop initiating. They stop taking up space in their own home because they don't want to be threatened or controlling or insecure. But the unintended effect is he becomes less attractive. Not because he earns less, because his energy collapses. And then the relationship becomes exactly what he feared. She feels alone, he feels useless, and both resent it. High achievement has a cost. Time, stress, attention, emotional bandwidth. If she's building a serious career, she may come home depleted. Not because she doesn't care, because she's running a marathon every day. So the relationship becomes scheduling, logistics, quick updates, functional teamwork. And romance requires the one thing careers often consume: presence. Here's the spiral. Work gets intense to she invests more in work. Home feels less fun to she invests even more in work. He feels neglected implies he complains or withdraws. She feels nagged or unsupported implies she doubles down on work where she feels competent. They stop repairing implies they start scoring. Eventually someone says, I'm not happy. And because she's now financially independent, she doesn't feel trapped. So instead of, how do we fix this? The internal question becomes, is this still worth it? If the answer is no, the exit can be swift. A quick reality check. Without turning this into fear content, in many places, divorce outcomes consider duration of marriage, income differences, childcare responsibilities, standard of living, contributions, including non-financial ones. So yes, if she becomes the higher earner, she may be the one facing asset division, support obligations, legal expenses that surprise her, and if he was the supportive partner, handling the home, enabling her career, those contributions can matter. The point isn't watch out for women or watch out for men. The point is the income flip changes the stakes. If a couple doesn't discuss expectations early, roles, contribution, lifestyle, savings, boundaries, then the legal system may end up being the place those expectations get negotiated. And that's the most expensive, emotionally brutal place to negotiate anything. Now the important part. What actually works? Because plenty of marriages thrive when she earns more. The difference is not luck, it's structure and honesty. Here's the playbook. 1. Name the shift out loud, early. Not in a dramatic way, in a mature way. Try, "Your career is accelerating and I'm proud. I also want us to talk about how we keep respect and partnership strong as things change." If you can't talk about money and power will talk for you through resentment. 2. Redefine contribution beyond income. Income is one metric. A marriage needs multiple pillars: emotional leadership, household management, parenting labor, social planning, long-term strategy, conflict repair. If he earns less, he needs a lane that still earns respect, not helping, owning. A man who acts like an assistant in his own marriage gets treated like one. 3. Protect masculine identity without insisting on outdated control. This matters. A man can be supportive without being passive. He can be proud of her without being invisible. He can lead at home, socially, physically, emotionally, even if she earns more. Leadership is not a paycheck, it's initiative. 4. Guard the relationship from comparison exposure. If her new world is full of high-status peers, the couple must intentionally create their world. Rituals, private jokes, trips, weekly date nights, shared fitness goals, shared projects. Comparison thrives where connection is thin. 5. Keep him on a trajectory. This is huge. The biggest danger isn't that he earns less, it's that he appears to be going nowhere. Trajectory is attractive. He needs goals that are real: education, certifications, business, promotions, fitness transformation, leadership in community, building something. Not to compete with her, to stay alive in himself. 6. Don't let career success become permission to disrespect. This goes both ways. If she starts to belittle him, correct him constantly, talk down to him, address it immediately. Disrespect is the gateway drug to contempt. Contempt is the beginning of the end. 7. Consider counseling before the crisis. Not because the marriage is broken, because you're upgrading the system. Like you'd hire a trainer when you start lifting heavier, because the weight changed. Here's the truth underneath all the noise. Relationships survive when both people believe the future is better together than apart. That belief is built on respect, desire, shared meaning, and the sense that each partner is an asset, not a burden. When a woman out-earns a man, it doesn't doom the marriage, but it does force the couple to answer questions they may have avoided. Who leads? Who sacrifices? Who decides? What do we admire in each other now? What roles are we playing, by choice or by default? If those questions stay unanswered, the marriage can drift into a silent hierarchy. And silent hierarchies create silent resentment. And silent resentment creates sudden endings. So the lesson isn't women shouldn't succeed. The lesson is expect the dynamic shift, talk about it before it becomes toxic, keep mutual respect non-negotiable, and make sure both partners are growing financially, emotionally, physically, socially. Because the real threat isn't her success. It's what happens when success changes the story, and nobody rewrites the story together.